Introduce yourself.
My name is Ronald Thompson, formerly known as Ron.
For the dime moves and the lokes, for the 6-4s on spokes, for the OGs that did a dime, came back around on parole, for the homegirls with the scrap game, little homies that gang bang, from Pelican Bay to YA, rearrange your mind frame. Yeah, I know what you've been through, shit you had to go tend to. Your mama gave birth on the turf, I know them killers you kin to. This for the lost generation, broke as hell, man.
A lot of, lifting weights, and I was on swole, they start calling me Big Miz.
Original stutter box. Eastside 5, who's Pablo Bishop, Mid City Gangsta Bloods.
kevmacvideos, you know, this is for sure. kevmacvideos, open your soul.
This is only the beginning.
Ron, you got a project coming out pretty soon?
Yes, so I got a documentary called The Birth of a Crip, the Raymond Washington story, produced by Ware, Big U, and a few others.
And what's your relations to this project?
My relations to the project, that's my uncle.
Who's your uncle?
Raymond Washington's my uncle. It's my father's little brother.
Your real uncle?
My real uncle, my father's little brother. My father was Ronnie Joe.
And how is Ronnie the first son by
my dad? He's the first. It was Ronnie Joe, Donald Ray, Reggie, Raymond, and Derard.
All right, let's dig into your background, man.
Yeah, go on. Do you know your family's history? You know the roots?
Man, I pretty much know a little. Yeah, I think I do.
Tell us what you do know about your family.
Well,
where they come from.
Well, my family originally from Texas. My grandmother was born in Texas. My father was born in Texas. Donald Ray was born in Texas. I think my grandmother was pregnant with Reggie when she moved to L.A. And that's where Reggie, Raymond, and Derard was born. And they grew up on 76 and Wadsworth.
Do you know why your family came from Texas to L.A.? What was the move about?
Well, I think my grandmother left my grandfather at the time. And she just moved to California with the rest of her siblings.
And where did they land at when they first came to L.A.?
They landed on 76 and Wadsworth.
Oh, wow.
That I know of.
And from 76, so that's where your father was raised at?
Yeah. My father went to Drew, and he graduated from Fremont.
And after Fremont, what did Pops do?
He went to the service. He went to the Marine Corps, and from there he was recruited by, I want to say, Colorado State to play football, but he opted to stay in the military.
Did he engage in any of the wars at the time?
No, only Donald Ray. He was in Vietnam.
So Pops missed all that?
No, he missed that. He was when I was born, he was in the reserves.
Have you heard any of the stories of your Pops when he lived on the east side and went to Fremont? Any good stories coming out of that era?
I never really heard anything, but only that he had a fight with a guy named Teddy Bear, if I want to, because I guess my Uncle Reggie was going out with, I want to say, Craig Munson's girl, supposedly, and I think he pulled a gun out on Reggie, and that kind of spooked my uncle, so my dad went looking for this guy, whoever Teddy Bear was, and they fought. And then that's when the altercation took place, where I guess, supposedly with Craig Munson and Raymond at the time. Also,
the theory out there is it was actually your Uncle Raymond doing the fighting. This was actually your Pops?
Yeah, this is my dad. They fought. He fought that dude. Yeah, my father grew up fighting too. My father grew up fighting, from what I hear from Derard tell me, from what Reggie told me. My dad was a fighter.
They say you come from a family of fighters. Where did Pops get his skills from?
I don't know.
Was he trained, or this is just street fighting?
Just street fighting. It was just street fighting. Then he went to the military and knew some other stuff, I guess.
And when he came back from the military, did he land back on the east side?
No. When he let out the military, him and my mother was together, and they lived on 83rd and Normandy. And from there, when they got married, they moved When me and my sister was born, we was living on 10th Avenue in between 67th and 71st. Then from there, from I want to say from like 71 to 70, 75, 76, we was living on 10th Ave. And then from there, from 76 on, we've been living right here on 58.
Oh, wow. I thought you was born up here.
No, my two younger siblings.
So Pops and Moms bought this house in the mid-70s?
76, yo.
Do you know the story behind that?
I think
how they found this location and who they bought it from?
They bought it from a white couple. They bought it from a white couple. I want to say that he paid $30,000, maybe $30,000, and we've been living in this house ever since.
What schools did you attend in this area?
I went to Hyde Park Elementary. I went to 54th Street School where I graduated. I went to Override Junior High. I went to Westchester High. Went to Crenshaw High. Went to Palisade High. And a host of continuations, Whitney Young, Delray. That's what, Job Corps.
I remember little Tony used to drop you off at some fucking school on the side of the swap meet. What was that?
Yeah, I went to that adult school. Me and the homie Norris, dude, we went to that school right there on Dinker and Slauson for a minute. Yeah, we did.
So rewind a little bit. This area is 54th up here? It's not part of the Windsor Hills situation?
No, this area is 54th. No. It's 54th.
When you were growing up in this area, the 54th and Override, what was the demographics of this neighborhood at that time, if you remember?
What you mean, the demographic? Like,
what was it? Was it a fully black neighborhood at the time?
Yeah, it was.
When we used to be on Harcourt, there used to be a little white couple.
Yeah.
That used to drive on a little scooter, that lady.
Mm-hmm.
So those still little pockets of little whites. I wanted to know if that was still the situation up here.
No, as far as I knew since I was a kid, this street was majority blacks.
No neighbors were white?
No neighbors was white. Neither one. I have a neighbor right here that's been living, Miss Kelly been living over here from day one. Black couple. And over here was a black couple. But it was like 3 or 4 different people that moved in and out this house over here since, but it was black. Majority of this whole block, from where I live, all the way down to T&D Liquor Store, probably the West Boulevard. It's majority black.
When you was at 54th Street School, who were your little childhood buddies back then? And who attended 54th Street that we would know today?
Like today, well, my best friend was Lamont. That was my best friend from the sandbox. 3rd grade, 2nd grade, all the way up. It was Lamont, Mario. I think Kev went there.
Listen, man, this is KMV. All that Lamont and Mario shit.
Baby Waco, Mario, who was originally Tiny Waco. Lil Lowdown, Durrell, rest in peace. My boy JJ from Posers, he went there with me. Man, there was so many people there, but the history goes, Lil PJ, Looney, I want to say Cat and everybody else went there. Who else went there? It was a gang of people, man.
Elementary school is kind of young when it comes to gangs and having a conscience of the gang situation. Were you guys aware of the neighborhood tough guys back then when you was at 54? Did you know?
Yeah, I'm gonna tell you one. I'm gonna tell you who was a tough one. I was in the 3rd grade. Was PJ Linford. That guy was a tough guy, but he was a good dude even when we was a kid.
So what? You was like in kindergarten. He was in like what, 3rd grade or something?
I was in the 3rd, so PJ had to be in the 5th or the 6th grade. If I want to say that.
And he was just an asshole kid, or he was already 6-0 crippin'?
Shit, he could have been 6-0 crippin'. I don't know, but I just know he was a fighter. He was fighting in elementary school. That's one guy that was fighting. That's what he was doing.
So growing up, when did you become conscious of gangs? When did you know that this was Crips, Bloods?
I want to say right before Raymond died. Right before Raymond got killed, I was like 8 years old. I was hearing bits and pieces about him through Derod. Because, you know, Derod was in the military, but he used to come home on the weekends and he used to stay here. So he shared a lot of little stories about Raymond, about my dad, about himself. And that's how I was conscious of who was who. I knew where I lived was Crips. I knew that for sure. I knew this was, all I knew about this, it was a notorious neighborhood.
So at 8 years old, that puts you what, like, what's that, like
Fourth grade.
Did Uncle Raymond used to come by and visit up here?
Man, Raymond used to come over here a lot. Raymond even brought Lil Raymond. He used to bring Lil Raymond over here too as a kid. And he used to come over and hang out with my mom. Him and my mother was pretty tight. Him and my mom was tight. He used to talk a lot. And he used to sit right in their living room and they just sitting there and talk. They took pictures. I think it should be a picture that y'all have with him in the front yard with my dad. In front of a Riviera, a red Riviera. That's the front yard. But that was right before he died, that they took that picture.
So when he used to come up here, was it just like for holidays, just to visit? He's in
He
the
just come over
neighborhood.
to visit. You just come to visit. I didn't know what he was doing. He just come over here to visit and hang out with my pops. You know, talk to moms. Then he would leave.
At what age did it really sink in who your uncle was? Where you realized, oh shit.
Shit, when he died, like 80, 79, 80, I'm really like, wow. Because, I mean, I knew, but it was just like, it didn't sink in, like, this dude really. But as I got older and I started hearing more and more stuff, especially when I went to jail, I started hearing a lot more stuff about Raymond. It was just like, damn. But yeah, I started hearing bits and pieces, and then it just started all coming together as I got older.
I remember when we was younger, you used to bring his name up. I had no clue who this dude was.
Yeah.
When you got to the pen and you started hearing about your uncle from non-family members.
Yeah.
What were you hearing at that time?
Well, what I was hearing about Raymond was that he started the Eastside Crips. He was the originator of the Eastside Crips. Him and Craig Munson. Not Craig Munson, excuse that. Craddock. You know what I'm saying? Him and Craddock was one of them two guys.
So when you jumped off the porch and joined the set, you was fully aware your uncle was the founder of the Crips.
Yeah. Yeah, but I never used that as a crutch or why. You know, I didn't tell too many people who my uncle was, you know, because I wasn't the type of person that would just throw that out there, because even if I did, they probably wouldn't believe me. Man, Raymond Dark, you light skinned, how's that your uncle? That ain't your uncle, this and that. But he was really my uncle. I just never really put it out there because I was finding my own identity at the time. I wasn't trying to use that as a crutch on why I was doing what I was doing.
Did you go to the funeral? And if you did, do you remember anything?
No, I didn't go. My parents didn't let us go. My parents didn't let us go to the funeral at all. I heard there was a lot of Crips there. My dad and all them. I know when he actually got killed, I think that's what drove my pops over the edge a little bit. I think that's really started his drinking and really started drinking real tough and stuff. My grandmother told me he punched a hole in the wall. I wasn't there, but I was told that by my grandmother and Derod. And he was just like, wow.
So out of all the uncles, you were closer to Derod?
Yeah, Derod. Me and Derod was tight, because I look at Derod at the time as like a big brother. He was my uncle, but he treated me like more or less like a little brother than a nephew. You know what I'm saying? Me and little Reggie, us two, he would treat us like little brothers, more or less.
So which uncle is the cripple?
Oh, it's Reggie, Big Reggie. Yeah.
So look, I was in Sylmar Juvenile Hall, and one of the staff members seen my tattoo, and he saw a little Ron, and he was like, "That was you," and that he was your uncle. Who the fuck was that?
Oh, Verlon. That's my neighbor. Verlon Red.
Oh, he's not your uncle. He's a neighbor.
He's my neighbor, but he was my mentor. You know, he coached me. He was a coach at Crenshaw. He was a defensive back coach, but he also mentored me, you know, in my little journey as well. But yeah, he, you know.
This dude argued me down about my tattoo. I guess he was like, your pops was big Ron, and you were little.
I'm the junior.
Yeah.
I'm the junior. My daddy used to say, my name all on the walls. I said, what you talking about, man? He said, you know, I'm Big Joe. I'm Big. He used to say that a lot. But Verlon was my mentor. That's Verlon Red. He ended up dying. It's mystery how he died in that house, but he died. Though.
Did you know back then that he was working at Silmar?
Yeah. I see him go to work every day. He coached my oldest brother Cliff at West LA. Yeah.
Did he try to warn you the dangers of going that route?
Yeah, he used to try to talk to me, man. He used to talk to me about all that, man. Because, you know, he grew up in the Blood neighborhood. Bro, I really grew up in the VNGs over there. And he would talk to me. He was just like going in one ear out the other. He was just like, man, come on, I'm at the age. I'm not finna. My ego is at stake now. I can't do that.
So look, is Ron a family name or is it
no? Just a street name. Lil Ronnie is a family name. Lil Ronnie.
So eventually you jump off the porch and Ron's not your original name.
No.
What was your original name?
Baby Sad Cat. Baby Courtney Dog. Ron. That's it.
What's the story behind the Sad Cat name?
Oh man. I was hanging out with Big Sad Cat and I ended up getting down with one of the homies. Matter of fact, me and Bartell, Baby Lowdown got down. And I kind of did my thing on him and whooped him. And from there on, Zach just took me under the collar as Baby Sad Cat. And Lil Sad Cat, which is E-Money.
So during that time, who were the names that were up this way?
Cat, Looney, Waco, Squally, Crazy Boy, who else? Shiny Mac, PJ for sure. Who else? Tita Rock. There was a lot of names. It's just like them names right there. For sure. Up this way more, I gotta, and this is like when I was a kid, like growing up. As a kid, it was mainly Big Looney, Big Waco, Big Cat, Squally Davis, Crazy Boy, Maniac, Lil Weasel, Big Weasel. It was a lot, man.
So after 54th, what school did you end up going to?
Overright.
Overright.
I was Overright.
What was going on at Overright during that time?
Nothing. I was going to school, really. Just going to school, and we had this little clique back then called the Hardcore Hustlers. Me, Lamont, Smurf, a few of us. They designed this little crew called the Hardcore Hustlers.
Hardcore dab, the fiends walk past, they thinking this rock won't last, they need more gas, they tweaking 60 if the 64 ran that drag. OG Pinky, Little Weasel, Crazy Boy in the land of banging. Baby Waco, Big Smurf is the man. Shay is dead too, she was a good sister and friend. 64th is the border with Fingerwood. CPF around the border, founded by Goldie in 1981. Until then, the Rollin 60s had their Crip meetings. A lot of hustlers got quartered in them years seeking a place to belong, to feel when they're strong, they need it. A family that teaches them right from the wrong and banging. River Rat at one punch in the early 80s. We having fun, but it still can get a little crazy. IPD at 7-7, always on patrol. Smurf House was the hangout almost on the daily. Hardcore dab, we smoking the grass and drinking. Making money from the fiends that we pass, we thinking about a master plan and pulling the lid. We rich rolling in the hood, real G's and no time for faking. Hardcore dab, we smoking the grass and drinking. Making money from the fiends that we pass, we thinking about a master plan and pulling the lid. We rich rolling in the hood, real G's and no time for faking.
And from there, That's when everybody transformed later on into 60s.
So junior high, hardcore hustlers, high school
60s, yeah.
full fledged.
Yeah.
So after O'Wright, where'd you land?
I went to Westchester. I went to Westchester in the 9th grade. I was like one of the first 9th graders to go to high school then. Yeah, when they started the 9th grade.
Explain Westchester High. Explain the landscape and the different groups and the whole atmosphere there when you went there.
When I went to Westchester, it was whites, Hispanics, blacks, and you had a little bit of everything there. It was a lot. You had the Cholos here, you had the Bloods here, you had the few Crips like the Venice Show Lines when I first went there, PBGs, you had the homies, you had a few Raymonds, a few 111s, there was a little bit of everybody going there.
There was shorelines and PBGs there?
Yeah. And I think the homies ran them out, I want to say, when Slim got killed. When Slim got killed, I think they ran them dudes up. It was like 4 or 5 of them going there at the time.
Oh, this ain't the time when Smurf and Wake chased S-Man and the other Smurf.
Nah, that was later on. I was there with that. I was there because I ran into Smurf and Folsom. But no, this is like the mid '80s, like when Slim got killed, and I think Baby Looney, Baby Acorn, and a few other homies ran the PBGs up out of there at the time.
What's the story about Job Corps? When did that happen?
89. I went there, 88, going in 89. I was messing up, man, and my dad and my mom decided to send me and my brother. My oldest brother wanted to go anyway. I didn't want to go, but sent my brother out there. We both went out there. I felt like they were just throwing me to the wolves when they sent me to Job Corps, so I was already emotional about that. So when I got out there, I was just messing up, man. I wasn't taking advantage of the good stuff that they had going on there. I would just immediately start messing up, and I eventually ended up going to jail out there for an assault.
Explain to us, what is Job Corps?
Job Corps is a place where you can get a trade. They pay you to be there. You go to school 1 week, you go to trade another week. It's like, to me, it was like jail. As a kid growing up, like, man, I'm in jail, man. But really, it was an opportunity to gain a lot of skills and take that with you to where you need to be in life. And my brother did that. He actually graduated and I didn't. I went to jail.
So Job Corps is not a court-ordered program?
It can be, yeah. You had a lot of people that was court-ordered to go. And then you had a lot of people that just volunteered to go from different states and different cities that was there.
And what city was this in?
Clearfield, Utah.
And when you speak on your brother, who's your brother?
My brother's Clifford, my oldest brother.
Did he participate in the street life?
Yeah, he was from East Coast. My brother was from 59 East Coast growing up. He grew up on the east side, on 59th and I want to say between Central and Compton. That's where he grew up there with his grandmother.
So let me ask you something. When I'm gonna rewind a little bit. When Pops came home from the Army or the Marines, and he landed up here, did your family still live on 76 on the east side at that time? Where did grandma move?
My grandmother still lived on Wadsworth. My grandmother didn't move until I want to say 78 when Derard went to the service. My grandmother moved back to Texas, and then that's when we used to go out there a lot every summer. We used to drive out there.
Oh, so when Uncle Raymond got murdered, the family wasn't even living on the east side no more.
Wasn't even living over there no more. They had moved already.
So where's Raymond living at during all this time?
Raymond lived on San Pedro, 65th from where he got killed.
Oh, so where he got killed, that's where he lived at? He wasn't just visiting and hanging out?
No, he lived there. From what they told me, what Durant told me, he lived on San Pedro, 65th. That's the only place I knew.
All right. So how long was you at Job Corps before you came back You got arrested for what in Job Corps? What happened out there?
I had a fight with a guy and kind of whooped him bad, and they sent me to juvenile hall.
Out there?
Out there. And as soon as I got out, my stuff was packed and ready to be sent. I had a plane ticket on my way back to L.A.
So look, man, there's two stories out there about your fighting skills. One is your uncles and your pops taught you how to box. Another one is that you learned out there in the Job Corps. Which one's the truth?
My dad, well, growing up, my dad taught me how to fight, but I used to box as a kid. My uncle, I had a cousin that was a professional boxer by the name of Evan Williams, and we used to train me at the Hoover Street Gym right there on Hoover, in 77th or 76th, little small gym. So he used to train me over there. So I learned there. My pops used to teach me some things in the backyard. Then me and Derard used to just sock on me. So me and him would just go at it. You know what I'm saying? So I got a little something under my belt.
That explains a lot. When we on hardcore, we used to slap up the youngsters, man. Huh? We used to get in the street and slap box?
I used to slap box, yeah. Me and you especially. Yeah. That's how the homies did us. I mean, you know, we were just having fun, that's all.
So look, I want to touch on Lil Looney, and I also want to touch on that Adair Park meeting.
Mm.
When you got the name, Lil Looney was in prison from 86 to 88, right? And he paroled, I think, like February, or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Did you guys already have your names at that time?
Yeah. Smurf had his, he was Baby PJ. Baby Wake had his name. And I got mine, right before he came home,
So the story is, Earl came home and threw a meeting at Adair Park in 88. Are you familiar with that meeting?
Yeah.
Was it a meeting or was it just a fucking picnic that turned into
it was a picnic that turned into a meeting. It was like a little get together because back then they had a little crew called the Posse. And the Posse used to hang out at Adair Park every Saturday. So when Lil Looney came home, and I think PJ came home, particular cat got beat up real bad up there. I ain't gonna put his name, but he got kind of messed up. PJ whooped him, but he said something crazy. He said something stupid and got beat up. But from there on, Looney, I guess, he took a liking to a lot of them dudes and turned them out into homies. I mean, a lot of them turned to hood. My nigga Tom, and a few other cats.
When you say Tom, I'm gonna rewind now. Back at Westchester, there was a different scenes going on. You had hip hop scenes, Trinity gang scenes. You want to touch on those?
Yeah, you had the TDF crew. My guy, Tony T, Melvin Harrell, Tim Story, Damon Thomas, Rap, which is Russell. They had this little crew called the TDF crew. And you had Eric Mays, you had David Sherman, all them. They was part of the New Force production. They had a little rap crew. But I can go all the way back from that when, before Melvin Harrell and all of them was TDF, they had this little breakdance crew called the Playboy Breakers. And it was breakdancing back then.
They had a Playboy Breakers in the 60 neighborhood.
They sure did.
Am I making too much noise for my thing? Yeah. Okay, let's stop it right here.
Little Looney, little Smurf, little Tone, I'll be hanging on the block, getting money in the zone. Baby PJ, little Shawnee Mac, Tiny Creep, hanging up in Smurf, smoking, drinking on the phone. We a tight group of friends from the overhills, under leadership of little Looney PJ Strong. Had the pretty bitches, everybody wanted some, and them niggas wasn't true, getting money like a control. Then we had 54th and Slauson, Ubi, Little Kev, Mac, Tiny Roscoe, getting money. Little Nutty Boy starred there too. Sexy Booty used to hang up on the block, you know she fucking old. Ernest at the dope spot, popping for the fiends. Eddie from the 30s in the Riviera clean. Front door Ernest blown out from a raid. In the early 90s, still be getting money, then it changed. And Allie separated the spot from a library. Was 1992 and the hood was alive, baby. Sherry was a neighborhood toss-up. I'm Ware and Detective Martin gave us hell on the contrary. Used to steal my blue rags and assets. Marina Del Rey and Linux would patrol that. Some homies got killed and mama started to pass away. Couldn't keep our homes and now gentrification back. Yeah, hardcore down, we smoking the grass and drinking. Making money from the fiends that we pass. We thinking about a master plan and pulling the lick. We rich rolling in the hood, real G's and no time for faking.